Hello and welcome to Wavescan, the international DX program from Adventist World Radio, researched and written in Indianapolis and produced in the studios of shortwave WRMI in Okeechobee, Florida. Adrian Peterson is our executive producer. I'm Jeff White in Okeechobee. Today we return to the story of radio broadcasting in Ceylon. The Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation turns commercial. We'll be talking about shortwave broadcasting in Bulgaria, another interview from the recent HFCC conference in Sofia. Our Japan DX report will be along today, and we'll talk about rare, unusual, unique QSLs, the story of AWR Siak Ekala, Sri Lanka. Wavescan presents Focus on Asia, a year-long series of reports about shortwave broadcasting and listening on the continent of Asia. Well, many moons ago here in Wavescan, we presented several progressive topics on the radio story in Ceylon, and we brought you up to date as far as the middle of last century. The exact middle, actually, in the year 1950. In our program today, we return to the radio scene in Ceylon, or Sri Lanka, as we know this verdant island today, and Ray Robinson tells us the story of their very popular commercial service.
In fact, their commercial service was indeed a very successful venture, one of the very few on shortwave anywhere in the world. At the height of its popularity, it stated that half of the shortwave radios in India were tuned to the commercial service of the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, the SLBC All Asia service. And in order to obtain advertising in India for their commercial service, SLBC opened an advertising office at Colaba in Bombay in 1951, and they were also authorized to issue QSL cards. At the time when the Radio Ceylon commercial service was inaugurated on Sunday, October 1st, 1950, there were just 11 broadcast transmitters on the island, and these facilities were on the air at just 3 different locations. Radio Ceylon was set ready for expansion, but island-wide coverage was still rather tenuous. The first location was a new set of studios that had just been completed during the previous year at Torrington Square, Colombo. These replaced the temporary wartime studios in the Bower on Cotter Road and the previous SEAC studios on Turret Road. The second location was the medium-wave transmitting station at Velikada on the edge of suburban Colombo, which contained 4 transmitters. There was one at 15 kilowatts for the Sinhala language national service, one at 1 kilowatt for the English language service, and 2 at a quarter kilowatts each for the Sinhala language commercial service and also for the Tamil language service. Ceylon's third radio broadcasting facility was located at Ekala, a dozen miles north of Colombo, and it contained a total of 7 shortwave transmitters, one at 100 kilowatts for international coverage, 3 at 7.5 kilowatts giving national and international coverage, and 3 at a quarter kilowatt for capital city coverage. At the time when Australian-born Clifford Dodd was transferred to Colombo under the international aid project known as the Colombo Plan in 1950, the BBC programme director James Moody concluded his term of service and returned to England to join the technical staff of BBC Television. James Moody was a relative of our DX host Adrian Peterson. Clifford Dodd was the driving force behind the rapid development of the Radio Ceylon commercial service, and his name is still honoured more than half a century later. Under his leadership, many local personnel became legendary radio personalities, and among them were Jimmy Baruka, Shirley Pereira, Nihal Bharati, and Vernon Correa. The coverage area for the Radio Ceylon commercial service extended well beyond the shores of their own island. The capital city commercial service was heard on medium wave and tropical shortwave in 3 language streams, English, Sinhala, and Tamil. The main commercial service for Southern Asia was beamed to India mainly, but also to other nearby countries on shortwave. Attempts were also made to introduce a commercial service beamed to Africa, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. The service to India and nearby countries was later broadcast under the title the All Asia Service. During the mid-1950s, there was some consideration given to closing the commercial service on shortwave due to poor propagation. However, over a period of time conditions improved, and the service became a resounding success. In fact, in a huge number of village bazaars throughout India, a visitor could walk down the shopping aisle and follow the programming from Radio Ceylon all the way, with a radio receiver blaring loudly in each stall. Sometime around the year 1958, all 6 of the low-powered shortwave transmitters at Ekala, at a 1/4 kilowatt and 7.5 kilowatts, were progressively removed and replaced, ultimately by a total of 10 new transmitters, each rated at 10 kilowatts and made in Holland by the Philips Company. In 1967, Radio Ceylon was renamed the Ceylon Broadcasting Corporation, and in 1972 the station was redesignated again as the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation due to the change in name for the island country itself. And then, as we know, the entire Ekala shortwave station was ultimately and finally closed in the middle of last year. During their scores of active years on the air, the shortwave services from Ekala were heard virtually worldwide. Many thousands of reception reports were addressed to the station at the Torrington Square studios. Even though international radio monitors frequently complained they were unable to receive a QSL card from Colombo, in reality over the years the SLBC was spasmodically a prolific verifier. The Indianapolis Heritage Collection contains several hundred shortwave, medium wave and FM QSLs from Colombo, though admittedly many of them are self-prepared do-it-yourself cards, rubber-stamped onto postal cards issued by the National Postal Service. Among the many QSL cards officially printed for use by the station are colourful tourist-style picture cards showing city and country scenes, as well as events and people within the island nation. Also highly appreciated were the 2 different QSL cards showing the studio building in Colombo. The QSL card issued by the Bombay office in India showed a modified picture of the same studio building.
Thank you very much, Ray Robinson of KVOH in Los Angeles.
You're listening to Wavescan from Adventist World Radio. Send your comments and reception reports to Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana 46229 in the United States. That's Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana 46229 in the USA. Or you can email us at wavescan@awr.org. Our email once again, wavescan@awr.org.
We are broadcasting again this week from Sofia, Bulgaria, from the HFCC conference. And in our studio today is Jerry Plummer, of course, who's with me frequently here on Wavescan. Jerry from WWCR in Nashville, Tennessee. And we also have with us Vensy Georgiev from Spaceline here in Bulgaria, who is the host and sponsor of the HFCC conference this year. So welcome to you guys. Vensy, thank you for inviting us here to Sofia. It's a very interesting place, and I think everybody's had a good time here so far.
Thank you, Jeff. It's our pleasure to be a host of this conference this year, and it's, of course, a great pleasure to have all of you here.
Vensy, tell us a little bit about Spaceline. What do you do?
Well, we are actually doing shortwave airtime services. So we are selling airtime at our location in Kostinbrod, and also we have a partner station in Armenia in order to improve our coverage worldwide. And we can say that this time we are one of the major airtime providers in Europe.
Yes, you are.
Now, let's go back and take a little bit of a look at the history. These two sites, Kostinbrod and Plovdiv, right?
Plovdiv was being closed, actually.
Okay, it was closed. But they were the
Armenia.
Armenia is the other one.
Okay, Armenia.
Which is,
But Plovdiv was one of the sites of Bulgarian National Radio, right? Radio Bulgaria?
Yes,
Okay.
Kostinbrod and Plovdiv were sites of Bulgarian National Radio some time ago. They used to broadcast more than 70 years on shortwave from these sites. Everybody knows Radio Bulgaria. So we regret that Radio Bulgaria is no longer available on shortwave. And
That happened, what, about 3 or 4 years ago or something?
it was 3 years ago. Yeah.
But they're still on the internet, but not on shortwave anymore.
Yeah, they are available via their web page on the internet, but they don't do shortwave anymore.
But Spaceline sure does.
Yeah, Spaceline is doing shortwave.
Oh, yeah.
So these sites, they closed Plovdiv. They still had Kostinbrod. Did that belong to the Bulgarian National Radio, the transmitter site?
No, actually, it was a government facility, Kostinbrod and Plovdiv as well, and after that it became property of National Union of Radio and Television Stations.
Now, is that government?
It is not government
It's
anymore.
private.
It's
Okay,
a
it's
private organization.
Private
It was
organization.
privatized.
Okay.
And then so you have, what, a management agreement with them to manage the sites?
Yes,
or-
we have exclusive agreement with this company, and we are like an exclusive manager of the sites because they are not interested in shortwave, and well, we would like to keep shortwave alive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, is Kostinbrod only shortwave?
Kostinbrod is only shortwave transmitter site. Yeah.
So now the only people broadcasting from Bulgaria on shortwave are organizations that are from outside Bulgaria, right?
Absolutely, that's right. Yeah.
So who broadcasts, for example, from?
Well, we have quite interesting broadcasters like Korean Broadcasting System,
Right.
which is broadcasting 2 hours per day, and it's a simulcast. It's AM and DRM.
In DRM also?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So they're broadcasting for
Vincey's on
Germany.
top of DRM. He knows a lot about DRM.
Well, yeah, we did a lot of conversions of Russian transmitters to
Yeah,
DRM,
yeah.
and these were being quite successful.
And
Yeah.
all of their transmitters, Jeff, our old Russian transmitters that Vincey and his guys have rebuilt.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
All of the transmitters in Kostinbrod were being completely refurbished by our company.
So they're transmitters from the 1960s or 50s?
1959s and 1970s. Yeah, but the electrical circuit inside the transmitter is the most modern now.
yeah,
Nowadays.
Wow.
It's designed 2010 or something like that. So it's incorporating the latest technology inside.
So it's really, in a way, it's a 50s Russian transmitter, but in many ways, it's a 2010 Spaceline transmitter.
Absolutely,
You know?
you're right, Jerry. Yeah, I would agree on this. Yeah.
Many stations have proved that you can use these old transmitters and keep them up to date and convert them and modernize them and such as we've done in Okeechobee with some as well.
Yes, exactly.
And modernized to the degree of running DRM through
Absolutely,
them, too.
yeah. I think this is our biggest achievement at the station.
I think so, yeah.
DRM with 1959 transmitters.
That's pretty good work.
amazing.
That's amazing.
I'm proud
man.
of,
That's
yeah.
good work. That's real good work.
So how many transmitters are in Kostinbrod?
Well, we have 8 transmitters. 6 of them are 225 kilowatt, and also we have 2 which are more modern, but these are only 50 kilowatt transmitters.
Are those 225s the ones that you and your engineers have taken from like 100 up to 225? Have y'all worked on them to increase
These
their...
were originally 50 kilowatt.
Wow. So now they're 225.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good work.
Well, it's thanks to the modern technology available.
well, that's true,
Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible.
that's true.
There's something else. It will be interesting for the engineers to mention, and that's the Russians. They took a lot of reserve over their transmitters, so we use this reserve in power right now, so we can rise the power.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. So they had a lot of reserve built
Absolutely.
in.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, of those 8 transmitters, how many are capable of operating in DRM mode?
All of our transmitters
All of
are
them?
capable for
Whoa,
DRM.
whoa.
Yeah.
And how many of them are actually operating in DRM right now?
Well, we have only one.
Only one, okay,
Only one.
okay.
Yeah.
But if DRM opens up, then you would have a market with 6 transmitters ready to go.
Absolutely.
That's
Yes,
true.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you operate Kostinbrod, and then Armenia. Tell us a bit about Armenia as well.
Well, Armenia is also a site that we have upgraded to DRM by exclusive contract with the Armenian people. It was not Armenian people, but Armenian company who requested us, and there was a tender. We won this tender, and we just converted one of their transmitters. It's 100 kilowatt transmitter to DRM. It is a Russian transmitter, a little bit more modern than ours. Well, it's our biggest achievement abroad, I would say. Yeah.
So they have one transmitter at that site.
They have one transmitter DRM ready, but besides upgrading their transmitter, we installed their audio matrix and a system for automated playout.
Oh, I see.
Which is exclusively used by Spaceline and its customers.
And in fact, I think this program, Wavescan, was broadcast for a while from that site in Armenia, right?
You're right, Jeff. Yeah.
Okay, so now you've had a chance to organize an HFCC conference here.
And I've got to say, this hotel is interesting because when I first came here, I thought it was like I was watching a James Bond movie from 1960.
Really?
Very comfortable place. Yeah.
But the hotel was built, they told me, 77 years ago.
Yes.
Under the communist regime,
Absolutely.
I suppose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they obviously spared no expense when they were building it.
No kidding. Yeah.
It's full of marble, the walls and floors and columns.
It's ornate. It's
has
truly
things
ornate.
that are gilded in gold.
Chandeliers,
Big chandeliers.
Yeah.
But it also, if you also look around, you see several buildings such this one from this era. And,
From that era,
This is, we have Tsum and also the former central place of the Communist Party in Bulgaria. These are all the same style.
That makes sense. Okay.
Zoom is the building right next door here,
Absolutely.
which looks very similar to this one.
It does.
And it's the central department store.
It is.
Yes.
Which now it looks to me like it was modeled after the GUM in Moscow. Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's true.
Quite absolutely the same model as the Moscow's
That
one.
makes sense. Yeah.
So it's a big multi-level building with lots of fancy designer stores,
Yes.
right? I mean, it's where the rich people shop.
Yes.
Big doors. You notice those doors, how tall some of the doors are?
Yeah. So can you imagine the former Soviet times? This was the only place to find something to buy. These were called people stores. A lot of things you cannot find on the other shops and a cheaper price.
But there is in the basement, Jerry found a
There's
nice supermarket there.
Yeah.
that's
Which
there,
has
yes.
all sorts of...
all the vegetables and drinks and things like that.
Yeah, that's
very
true.
close to us, actually.
Yes.
Yes.
yeah, about a block, less than a block away.
Vincent, let me ask you. I think you got into this business originally because you were a ham, and I think maybe your mother worked in radio too, didn't
Absolutely.
she? You know,
Yeah.
She had kind of helped him to learn about radio.
Yeah, it's I became a ham because my mother was been working at the Kostinbrod transmitter site. So she was been telling me about the transmitters and antennas and so on. So I was been watching at the Kostinbrod, initially not being allowed to enter inside because the security was very strict.
Right.
Well, it was government-owned station, and you can imagine. But after that, the situation changed, and I entered Kostinbrod, and it was very, very interesting experience for me as a young guy.
Where is Kostinbrod located from Sofia?
It's 20 kilometers away from Sofia. That's why we coordinate the site as Sofia, not Kostinbrod.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Okay. And Vinci said he was broke in on his the renovations. They're doing for the Russian transmitters. He started off with like 5 kWs when he's maybe 16 years old.
Yes,
working on those.
that's right. That was pretty much a challenge for me.
You've been listening to an interview we recorded at the recent HFCC, or High Frequency Coordination Conference, in Sofia, Bulgaria, with Ventislav Georgiev of Spaceline. Now let's go to Yukiko Tsuji in Tokyo with her DX report for this month.
Hello and welcome to the DX report of the month from Japan Shortwave Club, edited by Toshi Otake, and I'm Yukiko Tsuji. The first topic is EDXC, European DX Council Conference 2014. This annual event was held from 19th through 23rd of September in France. On 19th, Most of attendees met at Nice Airport by Mr. Christian Gibaud, organizer of the EDXC 2014, and took EDXC chartered bus to Saint-Darme-du-Tende, 70 kilometers north of Nice. On arrival, we checked in the hotel located in picturesque valley of Southern Alps in France. The official opening was announced by EDXC chairman, Mr. Kari Kivekas of Finland. Then Mr. Dario Monfellini of Italy presented his Brazilian radio tour. The next day's session was started by Mr. Kivekas about EDXC matters, and Mr. David Rickwish of New Zealand presented news about radio stations in New Zealand and the South Pacific. After the tour to Tende village, the presentation was resumed. Mr. Givaudo presented the history of Radio Monte Carlo, and Mr. Anker Peterson of Denmark talked about his DXing on a cruise ship to the Caribbean Sea. Mr. Alexander Velozkin spoke about his St. Petersburg Radio Club. On the third day, the chartered bus brought us to Ventimiglia of Italy and Monaco, where we had a tour of the palace, then to Nice Hotel, covering 3 countries in one day. The fourth day was excursion in Nice with visit to a couple of radio stations. The conference was attended by 29 people from 9 countries and very successful and enjoyable. We have several DX reports from our club members this week. NBC Southern Highlands from Mendi, Papua New Guinea, was heard on 3275 kHz on September 2nd from 11:20 to 12:15 UTC in Pidgin. Local pop music and the talk program were broadcast. Time signal and ID were given at 11:44. RTM Sarawak FM from Malaysia was received on 9835 kHz on September 1st from 1950 to 2000 UTC in Malay. SIO rating was 353. Malaysian pop music was on the air. Bangladesh Beta was heard on 15105 kHz on September 6 from 1200 to 1300 UTC in English. SIO rating was 343. News, commentary, and music program were broadcast. Radio Romania International was heard on 17780 kHz on August 31st from 0400 to 0426 UTC in Chinese. SIO rating was 353. News, weekly news, world of culture, and kaleidoscope were aired. Radio Djibouti was received on 4780 kHz on September 5th from 2037 to the sign-off at 2102 UTC in vernacular language. SIO rating was 252. Local songs and the talk program were broadcast. Koran was aired at 2102, then it signed off. Radio Akva Muhuliha via Ascension was heard on 11985 kHz on August 31st from the sign-on at 2145 to the sign-off at 2215 UTC in Pular. SIO rating was 353. It signed on with music and ID, then gospel talk started. Finally, Japan Shortwave Club will issue the QSL cards for the correct reports on our segment of Wavescan program. We are issuing QSL card by email to the report sent by email. Our address for your email report is jswcqsl@live.jp. I repeat, jswcqsl@live.jp. We continue to issue the printed QSL card by the same system as before. Your report should be addressed to JSWC P.O. Box 44, Kamakura, which is KAMAKURA, postal code 248-8691, Japan. $1 ILC or $2 for return postage will be appreciated. For this edition of DX Report, we'd like to thank Mr. Iwao Nagatani, Mr. Mitsunori Kawazoe, Mr. Chiaki Shimada, and Mr. Hiroyuki Akiba for sharing the information with us. Thank you for listening, and please join us for our next edition of DX Report of Japan Shortwave Club. I'm Yukiko Tsuji in Tokyo.
Okay, well, we're very glad to hear about this successful EDXC 2014 conference. The main organizer of the EDXC conference was Mr. Christian Guibaudot of Nice in France. And he is our subject on today's Rare, Unusual, Unique QSL segment. He's in France, and he tuned in to a special test broadcast from the original Adventist World Radio in Asia, AWR Asia, back on February 21st of 1981. This transmission was on the air via the historic 100-kilowatt Marconi transmitter at the SEAC, S-E-A-C shortwave station located at Akala in Sri Lanka. He received the Orange Map AWR Asia QSL card from Pune in India, which was neatly typed with full QSL details. This card is very special to Christian Guibaudot due to the fact that the AWR test broadcasts were on the air for only a short period of time, and the transmitter was the famous SEAC transmitter from the middle of last century, which has long since gone silent. At that time, more than 30 years ago, Christian was quite new to the international world of radio broadcasting. He listens to the DX program Wavescan, heard via the relay transmitter located at Issoudun in France. Well, a Russian folk song, Moscow Nights, ends this edition of Wavescan, the international DX program from Adventist World Radio. Some music that we picked up in Bulgaria the other day at the HSCC conference. This program was researched and written in Indianapolis by Adrian Peterson. Next week, north of the Stone Wall, the radio scene in Scotland, and our Philippine DX report. A reminder that we have several QSL cards available. Send your AWR and KSDA reception reports for Wavescan to the AWR Indianapolis address, which we'll give you in a moment, and also to the station that your radio is tuned to, WWCR or KVOH or WRMI, or to the AWR relay stations that carry Wavescan. Remember, too, you can send a reception report to each of the DX reporters when their segment is on the air here in Wavescan. Japan, Bangladesh, the Philippines, Australia, and India. They will verify with a colorful QSL card of their own. Return postage and an address label are always appreciated. Our main Wavescan address is Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA. That's Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA. Our email address is wavescan@awr.org. That's wavescan@awr.org. I'm Jeff White at WRMI in Okeechobee, Florida. Till next week, good listening, everyone.
Все, что на сердце